Hello, our you wonderful YouTube listeners. I'm Ioannis, and that is
Deborah.
And this is Conversations with Deborah and Ioannis, Nature of Belief. We're exploring the nature of belief, everybody. What underpins our lives? What holds up? Now, they say in some schools that the legs of the table that hold up our map of the world are made of beliefs and values, our beliefs and values. So everything we experience runs through those filters before we end up with the state we're in. And that may be true. If it's true for you, if it's a belief, if you believe that, then it is true for you. The question we're looking at today, and make sure you do press the notification bell if you want to see more of these, if you like it, and share and comment so we know that we're doing good work for you. The question this week is, can you truly heal serious illnesses with only belief? And those of you that notice that medicine is now becoming more and more pushed in private hands and becoming more and more expensive and is kind of being politically and corporate and privatized. And anyway, medicine's being manipulated at the moment, as we see more and more through this pandemic. So can we heal ourselves only with belief? That's the question this week. And I'm going to send this straight over to Deborah because I have very mixed feelings on this one.
Yes. So mine is, it's interesting because you're talking to someone that doesn't go to the doctor, that doesn't take any medication, ever. Yeah. And so has self-healed for many, many years. And so it's an interesting one. I can see people out there saying, this woman's a nutter and whoa. So let me just say, I'm not telling you not to go to a doctor. I'm not telling you not to take medication. But it's an interesting one for me, because of my faith, I have always self-healed. And it's about my belief. I don't get sick because I don't believe that that's part of my story, part of my timeline. If I do get a slight feeling of a sniffle or whatever, I go inside, I go upstairs, and I deal with it. I do some work on my DNA. I talk to my higher self. I call in my guides, and I heal. Simple.
It might be simple for you, but my life was saved by medicine.
Yeah.
I had a major heart attack 3 years ago, and if it wouldn't have been for the intervention of the system, I no doubt would have died at the time, because my main coronary artery. My main coronary artery had just collapsed and closed up. And I was writhing on the floor, not writhing, I was just sort of on anyway. And it took me 2 hours to get to a hospital, but, all fixed. Apart from the fact that there's quite a lot of damage to the heart, which I now am using belief to heal. Mm-hmm. So I've got mixed things, and I can tell you 2 stories, and Deborah will tell you an amazing story in a minute, but let me just tell you about mine. So whenever I get a sniffle or I can feel the scratch of a virus or a cold that coming on, I just go, I've got a rocking immune system, I'll be fine. I never get these things, and they always just go. They never get much more than a scratchy throat, because I know they're coming, because I can feel the symptoms, and I can feel the symptoms begin. Bit of heat, maybe a touch of headache, and I never get headaches normally. So when all those symptoms coming, I'm going, all right, I've been exposed to virus. And now with all this crazy virus, which we won't go into in any detail, is around, there's going to be people that are shedding, and there's going to be a lot of stuff around. And so whenever it comes to me, I've been in the supermarket or something like that, exposed to a lot of people that may be whatever. And I feel these symptoms, I just go, my immune system rocks. I've got no trouble. I got a rock. So I even say it to Deborah, I say, look, I've got a really strong immune system. And in a sense, that is a complete belief for me. I was a teacher for 9 years, longer, but on and off. So say 15 years in total. The first 2 or 3 years in schools, you get exposed to every bug, because parents just send their kids to school when they're streaming with colds. They don't want them home. They want them out where they can infect all the teachers and everyone else around them. Go figure. And they send them, and so your immune system really gets challenged, and you pick all the bugs. And I started noticing a pattern. I wouldn't get sick. In the UK, they have a thing called half term. So every 6 or 7 weeks, you get a week off. It's a 13-week term with a week in between. So it's 2 6 weeks, say 2 6 weeks and a week off in between, called half term. And you would almost save off getting sick, and then half term you'd always get sick. This was the first 2 or 3 years in teaching. And then your immune system gets in, and you start believing that you need your half term for a holiday, so then you have breaks. And so it all changes. So now I'm going to share you my other story. So yes, I needed the system and doctors to heal. I'm on heart medication now every day, which I'm working to get away from. So I'm using now my I am presence, my belief, my conversation with my unconscious mind and my DNA to heal my heart, because I don't like taking, I've never been on medication all my life. And then suddenly now I'm on medication, which I'm kind of reducing, but I'm not supposed to tell you about that because doctors don't like hearing that sort of information. But let me tell you a quick story, and then I'm going to hand it over to Deborah. My mother is 94 in a month. And when she was about 6 or 8 years ago, so she was about 86, 8 years ago, she was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer, which to an 86-year-old is see you later, alligator. It had moved into secondaries, so it had gone into a lymph system. It's all over. She had a 6-centimeter tumor in her abdomen and on her stomach walls, which they couldn't operate on because there's a nerve, I forget the name of the nerve, that runs right across there. And if they sever it, she wouldn't be able to sit up. So it was in an unfortunate place. They put her on really mild chemo to just reduce the size of the tumor because it was affecting the quality of her life, because she had a huge golf ball of a lump in her side. My sister rang me and said, I was living in the UK, she was in Australia. It's your turn. I did dad, because my father had passed 2 years before. You got to do mum. Because it was just, she's going to die within 6 months. Well, I didn't believe in that. I don't believe in cancer. Well, when I say I don't believe in cancer, if you don't have cancer cells, you don't have cancer, is the way I see things. And cancer cells cannot live in a pH balance above 7.8. They just can't exist. They die off. So, and I was saying to my sister, I said, oh, that's fine. It's just cancer. We'll just alkalize her and we'll get rid of it. And my sister buys into the Western medical system, the model completely. She said, don't be ridiculous with your woohoo nonsense. Mum just wants to live a life and not go on stupid diets from you. And okay, I got to respect my mum's wishes. My mum wanted to eat chocolate. She wants to eat meat. She wants to eat biscuits. She wants to live her life and die according to what she's been doing. So they basically told her, you've got 6 months to live and, just make it comfortable for herself. So I agreed not to upset her. But I came in by stealth. So I flew to sort out my house, flew to Australia, moved in with mum and started alkalizing her diet without her knowing. So I cook for her permanently now. So I made a breakfast. In breakfast, I would have fruit salad. Fruit salad would have a lemon and honey dressing. But the fruit salad, instead of chocolates now, she would be having fruit salad. So she still gets the sweets, but there's pineapple, which alkalizes as soon as it hits you. Pawpaw, which has fantastic healing qualities. Mango, which has fantastic healing qualities. And all this with a lemon and honey dressing. Lemon can be used in everything, sweet and sour. Anyway, so that with her meat, she would have pork steaks. She loves them. and I would make that for her, but with lemon sauce, alkalized as soon as it gets to her. I made her a green soup twice a week. It would be broccoli, fennel, celery with garlic and onion, completely alkalizing. And so she'd be, anyway, I would make her laugh every day. I would love her up every day. Now, keep in mind, I left Australia when I was 28 and I was 58 when I returned, so nearly 30 years. It was nearly that, 30 years away. And I hadn't really seen much of my mother. I'd come over twice, 3 times. So I'd had no real relationship from 28. I'd moved to the UK. So suddenly I'm home. I was single. I didn't have a job. I was a musician, therapist, living hand, but the way old people look at it, you don't have a steady job anymore. You don't have you're not married. So the upshot is, within 3 months, the tumor had vanished to such an extent that x-rays, they couldn't even find where it was. It had gone so much. She was in complete remission. The cancer had completely left her body. They thought it was, she laughed. She said, to the doctor, my mum's got a broad Queensland accent. She goes, you wouldn't believe what food he's feeding me now. He's making me all these fruits and veggies. It's hilarious. She's saying and this is one of the leading cancer specialists in Sydney, who just said, whatever he's doing, keep doing. Anyway, complete remission, and she's still around all this time. So my belief was that cancer could be cured. It wasn't hers, it was mine. Mm-hmm. I didn't do anything, but she had chemo. She didn't have nothing. She still had the chemotherapy. And it was funny, just before she was discharged, it wasn't meant to be the last chemo session, but about a third into the session, she just flushed and went, I can't have this anymore. And they said they can't give it to her. Once the body reacts, she can't. Even though they believe it was what reduced the tumor, her body was so cured, her body rejected the chemicals, which was amazing. And so anyway, that wasn't that sort of story. But I believed, and there's more to it, which I can go into in another video, because I believe love had something to do with it. I believe laughter had something to do with it. She had all of this. I loved her up and made her giggle every day. I used to take the terrible piss out of her. This woman was meant to be dying in 3 months. I'm taking the mickey out of it. But I was cooking her and loving her. I was caring for her.
Yeah.
And she was really getting love and attention. And remember, my dad had passed 2 years ago. She had no one there. She was sitting on her own in a flat by herself, doing these word searches and watching really bad television. Anyway, she's now still with us. Thank God, and thank everyone involved. And yeah, can belief cure illnesses? Well, a bit of everything. You've got a great story, I believe. You talked about limbs growing at one point to me. So let me hear more of that.
Yeah, well, I grew up in Africa. So for me, I know I spoke in the beginning about, I don't go to doctors and whatever, which is true. It's fact. And people, they send me all these things and whatever. But you must remember that from a young age, I had this belief system. So, if I'm told something's wrong or, I find something doesn't seem right, I immediately just have a way of dealing with it. And it's my belief system that I am immune to any of this. I remember as a young girl being told, I went to a seminar or something, a friend took me, about hormone replacements and not doing it, and aging naturally and all this sort of stuff. I'm talking in terms of women's medical stuff. And I'm 58 years old and I have just aged naturally. So that's it. I don't allow a belief system into my mind that caters or accommodates any illness in my body. I wake up every morning speaking to, my organs, my DNA. And so that is my belief system that I have done for many, many years. And so I self-heal. I've had times where I've been a bit lazy, and so I've been coughing or something. And I've had a few times where I've actually, had thought to myself, oh, something's wrong. And then remembered, oh, I need to pray for myself. I need to sort myself out. And I literally, and this was before I was like really spiritually awake in terms of understanding my divine power. I relied on my relationship with Lord Jesus, Yeshua, and I would just take my hands as he did, lay it wherever the complaint or the problem was, say, in his stripes, by his stripes, I am healed. And that's it. And my belief was that I would be healed. And on 2 occasions where I was quite, where my body was affected, and I knew that I had to, pull down that power, initiate that healing, activate it. I would lie on the bed, go to sleep, and when I woke up, I was totally healed. And I never expected anything else but total healing. It's the same with what I eat. I can eat anything. I literally look at it, I command it, and it is done. But that is my belief system. It doesn't work for those that don't believe that. And yeah.
Can I interrupt? Haven't you seen other people get healed from really serious things because they believed that the minister or God had the power to heal them?
Well,
You've seen that. I've never seen that.
Yes, so I grew up in Africa. So for me, and in the church. So for me, I have seen a friend who literally his limbs, and I'm not joking, was born with a leg that was this much shorter. And after 3 different prayer sessions, we saw his leg grow. By laying hands on him and praying to him, his legs grew perfectly. And he was born with a leg that was so much shorter. And it was amazing.
Can I just check? He believed that you could heal him.
Not that I could heal him. I was
whoever.
Yeah, we were 1 or 2 of us that were in ministry, that we all shared the same belief system. And so did he. And not only did his leg grow, but he had other complications from birth. And those were all healed. So it was that we did not believe as a team that healing would not take place, because we believed in the sacrifice on the cross of Yeshua, and by his stripes we are healed. So we don't accept, and that was, and I've seen that in Africa with children. I've spoken about this before. There was a ministry that I was involved with, and I've seen it where young children in Mozambique, from the age of 3, 4, 5, they have been taught that by his stripes you can heal. So by the laying of your hands, like Jesus did, and the praying over that infliction, that whether it's leprosy, whether it's a headache, or whatever it is, full-blown AIDS. I've seen somebody with full-blown AIDS and they were healed. Why? Because they believed. The momentum of people around them believed, and they activated that healing. And so people were healed. So for me, that's not a foreign concept. I saw people in ministry, that come from outside of, Africa is a really powerful place for faith, because people have this absolute belief in the power of the divine and the sacrifice that Christ made for them. They don't believe that they cannot be healed. And so when they pray in unison and they activate that belief, they draw down the frequency and the power of healing. And they don't believe that it doesn't happen. So it's very difficult when you have, say, for instance, people in Germany or in the United States or wherever, where they haven't lived that belief and seen that healing. They read about it in the Bible, but it's not their reality. It's not real for them. For me, there was never a question, because I've seen it. I did it instinctively. I do it instinctively. I pray, I lay my hands, and it's done. So it's that belief, it's that activation. And as I've grown in my inner standing of who I am and my divinity and my connection to the divine source, it's kind of like not changed my belief, but it's brought that belief and centered my power. So now it's not a case of that I don't, that my belief comes from source, in terms of I'm going outside, I'm looking to Yeshua, I'm looking to other beings. It's now about inner standing, that I am that powerful individual that heals myself. So when I talk to my heart, when I talk to my blood, when I talk to my DNA, I am commanding that aspect, that organ, to do exactly what I want it to do. So I'm standing in my divine power, and I'm commanding it, and I'm telling it that I am according to the original blueprint given to me when I was created. And so that is my belief. Somebody else doesn't believe that. They might not have the same healing, the same miracles, whatever. But for me, you're not shifting my belief. And I believe it's that belief that brings the healing.
But that is what we're talking about. That's the nature of belief. Now, there's people that believe, my sister, for example, in the absolute quality, or not quality, in the absolute efficacy of the Western model. Whereas we know that the Western model is just based on a pharmaceutical model, which is dealing mainly with symptoms. Of course, operations are different, but when we're talking about general practice, it's you go in with a set of symptoms, and they'll give you pharmaceuticals for those symptoms. But let me tell you another interesting story about belief. Now, I'm a practitioner of the EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, which is developed by Gary Craig. I keep getting that name mixed up. Anyway, I think it's him. And it's about you tap, and the story that he gives, the part that he gives, is that in your meridians and pathways, which you've seen on the acupuncture maps, you see not only neural information but emotional information gets moved on there. And so when you tap on where the meridians terminate, you can put a vibration in which will reduce the emotional content of that, and will, because a lot of illnesses have an emotional, psychological base. And if you read The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton, you will see how belief can completely heal people, and it is the basis for a lot of what we think. Let me just finish the story, Don. And then so I'm practicing Emotional Freedom Technique, and then I got interested how it worked, because I was getting great results from this, and people were reporting unbelievable results. So anyway, a university in America got interested in how they were getting such good results, and they did a study. So there were 3 groups. On one group, there were 700 odd people in each group, students from this university. So they were tapped on the given points. There are a sequence of given points on this practice. Okay, so they tapped on and these were all for phobias. This is very good for phobias because it's emotional based and unreasonable. So it's kind of easy to heal in one sense, but difficult if you've been having a phobia for many years, like claustrophobia or whatever. So the second group, they tapped anywhere. And the third group, they tapped on a doll. And I've done remote healing, and I must tell you that story after this as well. So they did the test, and the variances were less than 5% in each group. And that is normally within the bounds of the inconsistencies of the testing. So the only conclusion they could reach was that if the practitioner believes they could heal them and the patient believed they could be healed, healing took place. And so I ended up having a kind of a relationship with, well, I don't mean a relationship, I mean a connection with Buddy Greco, who was a popular singer from the 60s. And he went on a cruise, and he was now 84. He went on a cruise and he was singing, and he got really seriously ill. And he was taken off at Lanzarote with a kidney complaint, and they thought he was going to pass. His wife rang me and said, "You've got to do something. I've done some healing with him. You've got to do something. He's in bed. He could go." So I did remote healing with Buddy from London to Lanzarote, where he was taken off. And the next morning he jumped out of bed absolutely fine. Now, I believed I could heal him, and they believed I could heal him, and it happened. So that was all about belief. So sorry, you were going to say, sorry, darling.
No, I'm just saying it definitely comes down to, you know, I could have this conversation with people and they look at me and they think I'm totally nuts. Yeah. I believe pharmaceutical drugs harm me. And so I don't take them. I wouldn't.
Well, they do. If you believe that, they will.
Yes. And so I won't put them in my mouth. I won't swallow them. And so that is my belief. And so they will harm me. And so people look at me and say, "You don't do all these things?" And I say, "No, I have naturally gone through my cycles and not had one day's problems and no issues whatsoever, because it's just not part of my belief system." And it's really difficult for people to understand that and comprehend what I'm saying. And maybe it's because of my upbringing and my faith. Well, I know it is. And you know, and I know the miracle of belief and the miracles that take place. You know, I've seen it in young kids. I've known a pastor that's had many, and this people will think, goodness me. I've been to there wasn't a dead person there, but I've been with them in a ministry where a pastor had a number of recorded and document death resurrections, and people will really think that's, you know, crazy, but it's not. It's been recorded. You know, he just had this amazing, I don't know where he is now, but I mean, he had an absolutely amazing ministry. And I'm talking grassroots. I'm not talking your mega American, big church, big money, whatever. I'm talking grassroots individuals where they believe in that power of the resurrection. And I've seen amazing things, and I've really been, you know, my time, I've seen such amazing things. You can go to places, go back into, I don't know if she was in the 50s or the 60s, go and look at Catherine Kuhlman's ministry and the power of healing and the Holy Spirit moving there on mass. Go and look at places like Reinhard Bonnke's big mass things in Africa. You know, I've been in a field of people where people are praying and the Holy Spirit moves, and literally hundreds of people are slain in the Spirit. They just boom, 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 boom. They're knocked out, and miracles take place. And so, you know, that's very difficult for people that have never experienced those things to understand that power.
Well, that is the nature of belief. The nature of belief is some people have to see it to believe it, and some people, even when they see it, they don't believe it, because their belief is that it can't happen. Exactly. And it's the changing of the belief that's the hardest thing. But as Esther Hicks says, from Abraham Hicks, is a belief is just a thought you keep thinking. So if you keep thinking another thought, that will eventually become another belief. So say, for example, everybody, you just started saying, "I can heal myself totally with belief," and you said that to yourself every day. In a few months, that would be your belief, and that would probably happen. But I think now that's what we believe, and you've heard our stories, and you've heard we believe it is possible to heal anything, any condition, in any state with belief. But what do you think? So please comment below, and please, this is the last of our series. So if you want more from Conversations with Deborah Ioannis, you have to go to our regular podcast, which is going to be called Go Inside, or is called Go Inside, where we start talking about how you go inside and work out all those little things that you need sorting out. And that's what we're going to be doing with you if you join us. I would like to say thank you for all the time you've given, and much gratitude for every moment that you spend with us. And we hope you got something from this and all our future stuff. Have you got anything to say to finish off, my love?
No, just thank you for your time, as Ioannis said, and I'm sending lots of love and light, lots and lots of love.
Thank you, and goodbye, everybody. Thanks very much.
Bye-bye.